No, I gotta stand. I really like your singing.
Thank you.
I hope it helps. I didn't tell it, but I did over the phone to someone else. It was a very nice story. It's Krishna's arrangement that we don't have the book here because I was planning to read an earlier offering from another book. I know it's a bit controversial and unorthodox. They're not my two favorite words. My most favorite word is correlation. Anyways, I'll reach that stage of it. So this was my offering, was published in the book of 2013. It goes, and I kind of liked it. It's titled Repartee 67. In the big darkened hall, and this is based on a real incident, which I'll tell about later. In the big darkened hall, you spoke with a voice. Is it okay to read, to start now, Vishnu John? In the big darkened hall, you spoke with a voice, pleading and strident, and all by choice. No one could be seen, but thousands were breathing. To them you were preaching, not a soul was leaving. The spotlight shone bright. Only you were in sight. In front of the mic, we shadowed like night. With you on stage, we sat silently. You spoke without doubt, powerfully. At the end of your talk, one could hear from the rear an Indian accent, not seen, yet clear. The vent of a student attacked what you said. He probably thought you'd be better off dead. He'd come from your land, no question mark there. You knew this for sure. He barked into air, open quote, I study space and technology, and with my degree, I'll fight poverty. What can we do with your spiritual talk? It's impractical, and people will squawk, close quote. You said, open quote, that's good, close quote, but called him a crow. Eating filth and garbage with gusto, ho ho. A starry-eyed shopper in America's chamber, open quote. You're satisfied, but you're a beggar. I'm a giver, close quote. You roared into the dark, open quote. I've come west to help to ignite a spark, close quote. Maybe he sensed an order in math that sent him walking the circular path. Silence rang out. He'd back to the wall. You'd put life in balance in the big darkened hall. 0 for science, 10 for religion. Seeming precision reduced to a pigeon. You reached out to the masses, wolves on the prowl, seeking to gobble things most foul. To the hate, with a capital H, A-I-G-H-T, not the great, to the hate, not the great, you brought love feasts, and Krishna's message to human beasts. Happy, life was in balance in the big darkened hall. End of poem. I know you didn't come for a poetry reading. But anyway, you're stuck with it. Okay. Now I'm going to read the offering that I don't like.
What page you
I don't know what page it's on. It's in the Emeritus GBC, and so it's probably in the front.
I'll find it for you, Mark.
Okay. This took place actually in the University of California in Berkeley. That's what was the big darkened hall. And as soon as he heard the voice, Prabhupada said, "Oh, an Indian?" And it was probably the first time I ever saw Prabhupada get angry. And that's when he really launched into his diatribe about the beggar who'd come. And he said that he was going to study technology and take it back to India and improve life there. So Prabhupada didn't like that at all. And that's what that is all about. And I was going to mention one thing. I know I'm exceeding my 5-minute limit here, but in Chaitanya Chaitamrita, there's the story of Sakshi Gopal. This is my current reading. I'll continue this story in a moment. Srila Prabhupada, camaraderie between devotees is what you expected when you formed ISKCON. A Srimad Bhagavatam verse you would often quote like this: Ishvare tadadineshu balisheshu visatsu sha prema maitreka propeksha yakaroti samajamaha. Open quote. An intermediate or second-class devotee called a Majjhima Adhikari offers his love to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the sincere friend to all the devotees of the Lord, shows mercy to ignorant people who are innocent, and disregards those who are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. From Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 2nd chapter, 46th verse. Moreover, the Upadeshamrita states, the Dati Pradiganati Guyam Akyati Prichtiti Ukte Bojayate Chaiva Sadvidim Priti Lakshanam. Open quote, offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prashadam, and offering prashadam are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. Close quote. Here the word guyam is translated as, open quote, confidential topics, close quote. In the word-by-word meanings, elsewhere, guyam is translated as, open quote, secret, close quote, and, open quote, the most confidential, close quote. Once, when lecturing, you said that one who is worshiping the deity may suspend one's worship if a devotee suddenly appears on the scene, double dash, in order to greet and accommodate the devotee. From all this, one can extract the meaning that association with devotees, especially those whom we consider more advanced than we are, is essential and often the most important part of devotional service. So the story of Sakshi Gopal, you know this because it's narrated in Chaitanya Chaitamrita, was that there were 2 Brahmins. One was an aristocrat, an older fellow, and the other was kind of a not highly born Brahmin. And they ventured northward from Vijayanagar to Vrindavan. And the older Brahmin wanted to award the younger Brahmin something because he had helped him on this journey. Just to move around, because he was an elderly person and this man was a very young person. So he said, I'm going to give you my daughter in marriage. So they traversed back to Vijayanagar, and when they got there, the son of the aristocratic elderly gentleman said, there's no way that I'm going to let my sister marry this man, because he's a Shudra, and it would be against all Hindu rules. So I want you, he was saying this to his father, I want you to just say that you don't remember anything. You don't have to lie, just say you don't remember anything. And the young man was very disturbed about this, because he didn't want the elderly Brahmin to break his promise before the deity. And so he called all the village elders together, and he said, so if Gopal, the deity in Vrindavan, comes down here and witnesses, will you all agree to the marriage? And of course they said yes, because they were all atheists. They didn't think a deity could walk that far, and he couldn't be carried that far because he was very large and very heavy. So he said, I want you to give me your word of honor. And more than that, I want you to sign this paper. And in those days, which was over 500 years ago, it was a story narrated by Nityananda Prabhu in 500 years ago. So we don't know when, but it was definitely more than 500 years ago. Prabhupada translates, get it down in black and white. The young Brahmin took the opportunity to speak. Please write this on paper in black and white, so that you may not again change your mind. That's a verse number 81 in the Majjhima Leela. And then in the the next verse, he says, the assembled people got this statement down in black and white, taking the signatures of agreement from both of them. They served as mediators. So it's interesting that Prabhupada uses the word black and white, because in those days there was no such thing as paper. Everything is done on leaves. So the translation of the word in Sanskrit, patra, is leaf paper. So that instead of having paper, they wrote everything down on leaves. But it's interesting that Prabhupada used the phrase black and white, because that's what is considered to be legal evidence, like in a court of law, for example. And he used it twice. He said in black and white. And when this took place, it's not known. It just says purve, or previously. And another place it says formerly. So that's kind of an interesting translation of writing things down. And we think it's important because Prabhupada, even though his disciples sometimes were sound asleep, at 2 o'clock in the morning would arise and begin his translating work. And he spent a lot of time translating his books. And once he said that my only complaint is that people don't read my books. And when he finished the translation of Nectar Devotion, which was in about 1972, most of the translation had been done in the United States, he said that all of you, each one of you, these are exact quotes, must read this book continually, over and over again. Not just once to check it off, that I've read Nectar Devotion, but to read it over and over and over again. So his idea of saying black and white was part of his daily routine, getting up early in the morning and translating. Even though he was traveling all over the world and preaching, he was translating. He was a great scholar who put everything down in black and white. So that's my offering. And if we have time, which we may or may not, I want to call on a couple of newly minted devotees, namely Tanu Rajni and Sajana, to speak a little bit about their realizations about Prabhupada. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mama. Rasarani, Devi Dawson. And then Gunanava Prabhu, would you like to speak after Rasarani, please? Thank you.
So, dear Srila Prabhupada, you were born in 1896, which made your body 69 years old when you came to the West. So, between the ages of 69 to 81, you conquered the world. Now, this is nothing short of astounding, which got me thinking. We, your disciples, are all around that age now. So as we approach old age and ebbing energy and vitality levels, I ponder how you, at this similar age, started from scratch a worldwide movement. Your grace had to translate and write and print all the books necessary for your mission. So a solitary soldier, a lone soldier, powered by love in your heart and purity as your shield. So as we ourselves get tired and the body hurts with every movement and the brain dulls, we wonder how you did it, how you forged a great dynamic spiritual mission with little help to start with. So your early disciples, helpers from New York, are either old, retired, or have departed for more service elsewhere in realms unknown. And we remember fondly those who have left us. We honour the assistance they rendered at your divine lotus feet. Honour to Mukunda Maharaj for that. So I cannot help but wonder at your prowess, glory and indomitable spirit to preach to all the fallen souls. In Kali Yuga, the devotees need extra care and help. We have been bashed and smashed by Maya over and over for many lifetimes. We remember your overflowing compassion and endless caring. You overlooked our faults and even glorified and defended your disciples. So as death creeps towards us and we struggle with less energy and bodily pains in places we didn't know there could be pains, we think of how you became magnificent At this time of your life, you shone gloriously. The long preparation for your divine mission for Krishna fructified. You traveled tirelessly to every country, rallying lost souls to help you, never losing momentum despite your mature bodily age. Who can understand where your energy came from? You had boundless drive, your rising early, your nighttime book translation, your continuous giving of yourself to others. Love of the Lord buoyed you onwards. You shared that with us, giving us energy, enthusiasm, and determination. Sometimes your demands seemed beyond us, and we were anxious and forlorn. But then you would uplift us by visits or letters or your smiles. Old age didn't thwart your attempts to divert the course of Kali Yuga. You powered on relentlessly. Till the last breath, love of Radha Krishna seeping out of your being, your kindness never waning. I was impressed by your sharp mind. Your classes were full of numerous quotes, analogies, and anecdotes from the acharyas. And as I listen to your preaching, I hear a clever sadhu at the top of his game, focused, alert, and amazing. Your depth of knowledge profoundly tinged with unmotivated, unadulterated, overwhelming feelings of love for the divine couple. And I found this room conversation, little quote from Prabhupada that was really interesting. It was from Johannesburg in 1975, which gives us a very intimate glimpse into the mind of Srila Prabhupada when he was first coming to the United States. Quote, I went to United States, an unknown country, without any friend, without any hope, simply on theory that I shall go and preach there. And with this expectation also that as soon as I shall ask them to give up all these habits, they will ask me to go away. So, in the face of so many odds and uncertainty, I went there, simply depending on Krishna, with this hope only that if there is desire, everything can be done. But otherwise, there is no hope. I am there hopeless, just to make an experiment. Now, I thought that was interesting. How do you all feel like being Srila Prabhupada's experiment? We're all Srila Prabhupada's experiment. So my other god brothers failed. All right, Guru Maharaj asked me. In the beginning, I did not do it. Let me do it in this old age. So it became a surprisingly success. It started with only 40 rupees, unquote. So thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for defying the afflictions of advanced age, and thank you for marching headlong into our lives forever. Your servant, Rasarani Devi.
Thank you, Rasarani. Gunanava Prabhu, would you like to make your way up to the microphone? And just a reminder, all our speakers today, please speak as close to the microphone as you can, so we don't want to miss a drop of this proper nectar. And after Gunanava, Krishna Rupa, would you like to speak? And then Ram Prasad, please, after Krishna Rupa. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So nice to see this wonderful community. I haven't been here for, I think, anywhere between 6 and 7 years. So to see it today, the temple room in all its glory, seeing the magnificence of Srila Prabhupada sitting there, and the beautiful deities, it's wonderful. Mama Jnana Timarandasya Jnana Jnana Salakaya Chakshushamilitam Yena Tasmani Shivaya Namaha. Vanchakalpatrubhyasya Kripasinju Vahedacha Patitanam Halavirya Vaishnavya Hare Krishna. I met Srila Prabhupada in London at Bury Place Temple in 1971. And Srila Prabhupada, before he came to Bury Place, he was in Los Angeles Temple, and he had recovered from an illness. So he came from India, and he was at the LA Temple, and he was offering his obeisances to the deities, Rukmini Dwakatish. And then, when Srila Prabhupada got up from paying his obeisances, a conversation ensued between Srila Prabhupada and Dwakatish. And Dwakatish said to Srila Prabhupada, I want you to go back to India. Srila Prabhupada was very surprised because he had just returned from it. So Srila Prabhupada replied, why? I have come, I'm serving my Guru Maharaj, and I have so much preaching to do all over the world, so many books to translate and to distribute. Now you're telling me to go back to India. And Dwakatish replied, it's because you are going to build a temple in Vrindavan, which is many, many, many more times beautiful than the temple you're standing in today. So, when I met Srila Prabhupada, he was looking for someone to help him construct that temple. And somehow or other, by Krishna's grace, out of all the marginal energy, out of all the spiritual souls within the three worlds, within the universe, somehow or other, I had the great fortune to be instrumental in serving Prabhupada in this way. So, I went to Vrindavan. And I just want to fast forward because there's a very interesting experience that I had there. And the experience went like this. Guru Das and Jamuna, along with Pushta Krishna Maharaj, who has unfortunately left us now, and Bhadraj, who is a wonderful artist, they went to Jaipur to oversee the making of the Krishna Balaram deities, all the deities, Gaudita, Radha, and as the deities were being transported to Vrindavan on a truck, Bhadraj was sitting on top of that truck. And as the truck entered Vrindavan and was traveling down Chittikara Road, which is now called the Bhaktivedanta Swami Marg, as it got nearer and nearer the construction of that beautiful temple, there were hundreds of peacocks crying out in unison, welcoming those deities to Vrindavan. You go to Vrindavan now, these days, you won't see that many peacocks unfortunately, they have moved out further into the countryside because they don't like all the noise and the engines and the, well, it's become like a concrete jungle to some extent. So, Srila Prabhupada was, I have no words really to describe, because if I say anything, it's not befitting, it's not really expressing my feelings for Prabhupada. But he was just one of a kind. And to have that fortune of that vapu, like, you know, Prabhupada has given us the Vani. He's distributed Vani all over the world so we can understand Srila Prabhupada through his books. But I have to say, there's nothing like Vapu. Nothing like it. To experience Srila Prabhupada, his facial expressions, his instructions, his tone of voice, you know, the way he walked, the way he talked, the way he acted. Everything was so incredible, every move that he made. So, at the same time, Prabhupada, his mood, right the way through that construction, was the thunderbolt mood. It wasn't the rose, it wasn't the soft demeanor that you see Prabhupada. Prabhupada was under pressure. One of the pressures that Prabhupada was under was that the Sarafs, the Indian couple that donated the land, they wanted to retain the front of the temple ground. They wanted to build a garage in front of the Krishna Balaram temple. So you can you imagine seeing today fuel pumps in front of the Krishna Balaram temple? I mean, so Srila Prabhupada very intelligently convinced them to give him the land and not to build anything else. So that happened. Srila Prabhupada also, you could never, ever, ever think that you knew what Prabhupada was thinking. That was your folly if you tried to. And there's a funny story, I have to tell this. Srila Prabhupada was coming back to Vrindavan because he considered Vrindavan his home. And when he got out of the car, it was the first time that Prabhupada was going to enter into the house that we'd constructed for him. But it wasn't finished. There was still so much work to do, but Prabhupada insisted, no, I'm going to stay in that house. So we put all these, so there wasn't even a concrete floor. So all we could do was put different layers of cloth, dharis, and we had this incredible kirtan in his house. Prabhupada had this white fluffy cardigan, and it was a beautiful sunny morning. And Prabhupada got out of the car and he was shining. This hue, it was like a golden hue. And with the cardigan, that just seemed to increase. And he came in and we had kirtan. That went on for about 20 minutes or so, and Prabhupada said, okay. And Prabhupada gave a short talk. And then Srila Prabhupada said, so you all go about your services now. And he said, before you go, clean up this mess that's on the floor. Because we'd been dancing and there was a lot of mud and dust and bits and pieces, you know. All of a sudden, there's a devotee from London. His name was Charanaravinda, very tall, blonde hair, Father, you know John Aravindan, right? And he said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, that's not dust and dirt. That's the dust from the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas. So everyone was like closing their eyes. How's Prabhupada going to react with this one? Because I've seen a lot of reactions. Prabhupada said, Jesse, he's thinking it's the dust of the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas, and I'm thinking it's dirt, and just see how advanced he is. Anyway, he said, so before you leave, clean up this dirt and dust. So I know time is of the essence, so there's so many, I could stay here for a week and talk to you about Prabhupada. So I'll just quickly read this rendering that I wrote. It's called Planting My Seed. From holy Vrindavan you came, you journeyed on a boat, the Jaladuta its name. Its freight was you, your love, O Master, containers filled with boundless seeds. That journey was fraught with immense danger, a most piercing pain. Your heart was under attack. Not once, but many times it happened on that journey. Fragile you were, O Master. Giving up was not your option. Your undertaking to save the most fallen gave you strength. You came with Krishna in your heart. You came here. Sometimes you thought, why Krishna has brought you here? The building, so grey and tall, hiding the sunlight as a black cloud. The darkness of Kali's tapestry wore layer on layer. Your soft lotus feet, moving down the plank to the floor below. Srila Prabhupada, O spiritual gardener, arrived you have to plant those seeds within the hearts of souls who desire them. You planted many seeds in many hearts, your mercy unfathomable. In London's Trafalgar Square, surrounded by large lions and steep steps, Srila Prabhupada, O Master, in my granite-like heart, you planted the seed. Your mercy rained the sacrificial fire, red and golden flames and holy names. Devotees chanting the sound of your transcendental voice. I felt overwhelmed, my throat jumping as I tried to swallow. Looking at me, Srila Prabhupada with golden complexion. Gunanavadas, your name is Gunanavadas, Hare Krishna. Hari Bol Gunanavadas was the sound that I heard. Dhananjaya, temple president, smiling and said, Prabhupada's calling you to his room, you must come. A devotee friend too, Smara Hari, together we went. The door opened, inside emits a most golden hue light. In awe and reverence, my head touching the floor, Srila Prabhupada's request, go to Vrindavan, a temple to build. Their lordships are waiting for their house to be filled. We arrived in Vrindavan to sounds never heard. I could not sleep, my mind in a twirl, my heart racing. Transcendental, authentic, timeless peacocks calling another world. I was speechless, felt helpless, humbling, and feeling not worthy. Living with others on the roof of Radha Damodar Temple, Prabhupada suggested we live in huts on the land. Prabhupada came to the land and smiled at our dwellings. This is Goswami mood, living in huts and under trees. All day counting bags of gold, cement, in blistering sunlight, truck after truck till early evening. The count must be right. Prabhupada says, come to my room, and asked, how many bags? 1,623 bags, Srila Prabhupada. And he said, yes, that is correct. because Prabhupada had all the receipts and the bills, and he knew exactly how many cement bags there were. Over 300 workers now employed, serving round and round the clock. Second chance, opening day looms, the image of Prabhupada's thunder, the cement mixer sound, resembling an orchestra, Prabhupada said. Chief Minister arrives, it's Ram Navami Day, their lordships appear. Prabhupada's stern thunderbolt transformed to the mood of a rose, offering arti. Prabhupada smiling, feeling most humble and proud. To the transcendental brothers, at last, this moment profound. Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai. Shri Shri Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you, Janata. Krishna Rupa and then Ram Prashad.
Actually, I was there in Vrindavan briefly at the time Gananava Prabhu was describing, and I went there to get my first and second initiation together on Janmashtami in Vrindavan in 1974, and Prabhupada was definitely in the lion mood. And earlier on, in about January 74, I had gone to Vrindavan before I went to Mayapur and Calcutta and Mayapur temples to serve. And I would help Yamuna clean Prabhupada's room. And one day he came in a little early and he just wasn't pleased because the whole temple was meant to have been finished and a lot of people had been, very important dignitaries had been invited, and the temple was just a few layers of bricks as a foundation, so Prabhupada was not happy. And I remember Prabhupada ran his finger along his desk. I understand that with the floor the way it was, dust would immediately accumulate, and Prabhupada ran his finger along the desk and looked at it and said, "This has not been cleaned." And then a few of the ladies, there were only a few ladies there, and we were staying at Radha Damodar Temple, and would catch a couple of rickshaws, and Prabhupada would go over all of the accounts, and Gananava no doubt can attest to that. He was talking about the receipts for all the bags of cement. And Prabhupada was looking, it was something like 4 rupees a day. Why are 4 rupees a day being spent on rickshaws? And I don't know if it was you, Gananava, explained to Prabhupada, it was, the ladies are going from Radha Damodar Temple to come to this side. And Prabhupada said, no, only one rickshaw. So we would pile on the one rickshaw. I'd be squatting at Jamuna Matahili's feet. There'd be Jamuna Matahili and someone else hanging off the edge at the back. And in those days, the rickshawallahs didn't charge per person. So Prabhupada reduced. So every little paisa, every little rupee, Prabhupada was very, very, very careful about. So, most glorious Srila Prabhupada, please accept my obeisances at your lotus feet. May I prostrate myself at your feet birth after birth, until I am again reunited with you and your followers in the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada, seeing you in person was a transcendental experience. Being in your company was truly like being in the association of the purest of angels. We felt uplifted in your presence as you gathered before your feet.